Robert Wilkins, 261 Denson Drive, Auburn, Alabama. I wanted to talk about 8C3. It's concerning purchase of vehicle. I know that it's already been approved in the past councils and for the new inspector. But what I want to talk about is the number of vehicles that we continue to purchase and don't understand why we continue to do that. We're very fortunate to have been and blessed with so much funds coming in from our revenue. But the mayor had said at the end of the year when he did his address that we have 870 vehicles back then, and that they drove around 3 million miles. That comes out to 3,448 miles. That's all on those vehicles. That means some have less. Obviously, some have more because we have a great police department. We have our trash pickup and so forth. They drive a lot of miles. So, you know, somewhere in between there, we have vehicles that have very few miles. And I think when we decide to make purchases, we should get more information from the city manager concerning about how many vehicles that we have in each department, and in ascending order, it would be great to know the mileage of those, the date of those vehicles, and have an idea if we're not overspending our money, because we seem to be spending an awful lot of money. Now, this vehicle is one of the lowest we've had. It's like $38,000 and something dollars, but I've seen us have 100, 200, 300,000 or whatever, and I think it's excessive. We have issues in this city that need to be addressed. I mean, I went to out to the new Lake Wilmore thing today and went to the recreational meeting, and it was awesome. The facility out there is awesome. So we have the money to put some beautiful things out there, but we can't continue to do that if we continue just to spend an awful amount of money. So I think the council needs more information to make sure, because you are the governing body of this city, and our city manager and the people under her are the ones who gather that information and make sure that things are kept at a certain pace and do a good job. I don't deny the job. I just say that we have more money than we realize. I was with a company once that we had so much money, we paid all our bills in the first quarter, and they included a huge loan and so forth. And I realized in a short period of time, it was easy for us to spend money. You know, we spent money for this. My phone bill was running around, this was, of course, been a while, but it was running about $1,800 a month. I told my partners, this is ridiculous. Oh, don't worry about it. We've got the money. And I really believe that the city does a little bit of that. It doesn't mean that they're doing a horrible job, but let's act like we don't have as much money, that we're not as blessed with so much revenue, that each year that revenue continues to increase and increase. And it is easy to make a budget. It's easy to do things when every year your revenue increases, and it increases substantially. I mean, my contribution is more than doubled from my house. I mean, my taxes have more than doubled, and I've been here 10 years. So, you know, I don't mind paying taxes. I just believe that we are not doing our job as a council, me as a citizen, and as our city manager and her many employees that work under her. I think that we should start figuring out issues that we can raise money for and do things. Like Lake Wilmore, it was beautiful, but it would be nice to take some more money from all these excessive purchases and do some other facilities that are smaller and so forth. But thank you.
Mayor, if I'd like to respond to these.
Okay, please.
Mr. Wilkins, I appreciate you coming tonight and let me know your concerns about purchasing the vehicles. And I'm sure if you knew what we go through to purchase these vehicles, you feel differently. I started with the police department in 1987, and we had to drive our own cars. I went to narcotics in 1990. While in narcotics, I had to drive my personal vehicle to catch bad guys out of it. So did the other people in my unit. The only way we got a car back then was you got a seizure or bought it or yourself, because we didn't have the cars to go around. We've grown, and I personally think our staff does a tremendous job whether it be the environmental services, whether it be police, fire, but they got to have the tools to work with. And I can assure you, if I thought for 1 minute we were wasting money, I wouldn't waste the citizens' money because I have my own, I pay taxes myself. But I want you to know, I'd be the first one saying we got too many, but we don't have too many, I don't feel like, because you got to have a way for people to get around to do the job. And recruiting nowadays is tough to attract the best people that we can attract. And you can't expect them to come in here and walk or drive a piece of junk car that quits on you every time you try to get out in it. So I'd like to rest your mind at ease. We're staying on top of it. Councilman Griswold frequently brings it up, and as he should. But I think on that you're just dead wrong. We're not buying too many. We're probably not buying quite enough.
Megan, when a department or staff want to purchase a vehicle, do they have to provide you with justification, or do they just say, I want to buy a
Absolutely.
vehicle?
If you look at my department heads carefully when I make this statement, they get turned down far more than they get approved for a vehicle. As a matter of fact, a lot of requests don't get to me because I'm a stickler about vehicles. One of the challenges is in the mayor's State of the City speech, he said 870 vehicles and equipment, not just vehicles. And so equipment is different. We don't have 870 vehicles. However, when people are able to share, they do share. This vehicle, when we get to this item, is for a new fire inspector position. I can certainly not purchase a vehicle if you don't want to vote for it in the majority, but then I will have an employee who is not efficient with their time because they will have to wait for another inspector to finish their inspections that our citizens and builders are expecting to come into the office so they can turn around and then use that vehicle to go make their inspections. For liability reasons, we rarely have employees using their own vehicles. As a matter of fact, there was a vehicle accident today involving a city vehicle, and I'm grateful that nobody was seriously hurt and the employee was just doing their job, picking up recycling. However, things happen. But anytime the council wants to talk or have questions, we do this twice. We do this in the budget. This item is budgeted, but that is your first level of seeing the vehicles we plan to purchase. And then your next level is tonight or any given night that we put them on the agenda. So you get that, but the vetting process is much. If I think people can share, the planning department has one vehicle. For how many employees do you have? 9. And so they share among 9 employees. If they need a vehicle beyond that, the other departments in this complex, engineering, inspection services, and others, if they have one they can spare, they borrow one of theirs. And so we do, City Hall, very few departments have vehicles. We're very careful, but when an employee that is in the field all day, every day, minus their reporting time, needs a vehicle, then they get a vehicle. So, but we'll be happy for the city council. I can give you a breakdown of equipment versus vehicles, but we do not, in any way, shape, or form, the department heads will tell you we're running our vehicles longer miles and more years on the vehicle. If the vehicle's not costing us a lot of money, we don't replace it. We drive the wheels off of it as we should and our taxpayers expect.
Megan, could you touch a little bit on what the city shop does to monitor these maintenance of these vehicles when they get to costing us more money than?
Well, the city shop weighs in on whether or not it needs to be replaced, and we were at one point in time on a 7-year, and Katrina will shake her head if I'm wrong, replacement cycle. When I became city manager, I removed that, and our department heads had to get used to that. We were looking at how we manage our fleet. What we're looking for is, we've had engineering services had a truck that we'll call a lemon. We've replaced an engine more than once. We've done other things under warranty. Finally, we just had to give in and replace it because it was out of service 9 out of 12 months out of a year, and that doesn't help us. So there's a lot of vetting that we do. Things like police cars get tires on a regular basis, and as you well know, Chief, police cars are pretty much driven 12 plus hours a day, every day, 7 days a week. They're shared among certain officers that are out on patrol, and a few people have directly assigned. So there's a lot that goes on with our vehicles and maintenance, for sure.
And I wish we could have more, particularly marked police cars, because if you had enough, you could give each officer his own car. On his off days, his car may be sitting at the house, but it's not as likely to get burglarized anywhere on that street where you got a police car sitting.
Yes, we've looked at that, and the police chief has worked with me knowing the concerns about the amount of vehicles And our lack of availability lately, supply chain has been challenging. And unfortunately, we lose a few police vehicles a year to accidents, just things happen. And so what we've tried to do is build the fleet to the point that we can surely outfit everybody who's on patrol with a few to spare for breakdowns, maintenance, et cetera.
My name is Cody Warren. My husband and I reside at 1436 McKinley. And as many of you know, McKinley, that part of McKinley is very short street, only 3 houses, but it intersects with Alice. And we are right down the road from the new high school. And what we're faced with is students just inundating our street parking. And what I was told is they didn't have enough parking for the students. And so they're having to park somewhere else. And of course, they park on McKinley. Now, we're at the very dead end. And because it's a dead end, there's no traffic. And we really don't mind the cars there as long as they don't block our driveway. But what's starting to happen is that the kids are coming and they are very near our driveway, but they're littering. They're coming down there, playing their music very loud, because I think what happens is that they have friends who are parked at the school that bring them over and drop them off to pick up their cars or to take them over. And they're playing loud music, they're using profanity. One was kicking another one's truck tires, and we thought it was a fight getting ready to get started or whatever. So they're being very disorderly. And because it intersects with Alice, there's a fire hydrant there. And I have pictures to show that they are parking or blocking the fire hydrant, which is of chief concern to us, because should an emergency come up, the fire trucks would have a hard time reaching the fire hydrant. And I think what this initially started was one of our neighbors, because they were parking where she backed out or they back out of their driveway, it made it hard for them to maneuver. So one of the parents did come and ask us politely if their son could park. And we were very appreciative, and we told them yes. So we did give one of the students permission. But after that, it was just like everybody decided to come. So we were not necessarily wanting to restrict the students, but we're kind of at a standstill as to what decision to make. We did receive a notice that I think you all were deciding to put no parking from East University down to Alice, but as far as the dead end, you were not going to put signs of no parking, and you were going to do it from 7 to 9. Our other point was, we have a yard service that comes. We're not sure what time they will come. So that's going to impede them parking there. And should we have anybody else that's coming, then, we're affected by that. So we just wanted to kind of let our concerns be known. And,
Well, thank you for
see what
coming. Have
the
you
board's-
talked to those parents since the music became loud and the trash ended up in the street? Have you-
Now, it was only one parent that came and asked if their son could park. And it's not the problem. He is very quiet. He comes, get in his car, and he leaves. Very polite young man. It's some other kids that's come, and of course, I don't know who those kids' parents are, but I did speak to some of them, and my neighbor who wasn't able to come tonight, she spoke to them and told them that was not going to happen. We were not going to have that, and they let them know we were going to come to a meeting and decide about them even parking over there. So, and I did tell one young man when we saw trash all in the street that, we weren't going to have that, and he actually got a bag and got the trash up. He said, I didn't do it, but we saw who did it, but we'll just get it up. So that's some things that we're being faced with.
Well, thank you for coming tonight. We're sorry for your troubles.
Thank you for
Yes,
listening.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Mayor, I'd like to clarify too, she has spoken with the city engineer, and in this particular address, when we get to that item, your desire was to allow it in front of your house, correct?
We didn't mind as long as they weren't being disorderly and throwing trash.
So for now, it is that way. Should the council adopt this when we get to this item, if she changes her mind, you can always modify accordingly.
Okay. 8C3.
Item 8C3 authorizes the purchase of one 2025 Ford Explorer for the Inspection Services Department from Stivers Ford Lincoln in the amount of $39,936.
Move for approval.
Second.
A motion and a second. City Manager, tell us again, who is this truck for?
For a fire inspector position that we added in this fiscal year.
And what does a fire inspector do?
The fire inspector is going around to businesses and checking for life safety provisions. We do, John Hoare, where are you? There you are. How often do we inspect businesses?
On average, once a year.
Once a year. So we're adding, so by volume of our growth and so on, we've had to add fire inspectors. We also supplement with firefighters and firefighting crews or fire crews that work at our stations doing this inspection work.
That includes university properties too. We do.
It does on some, and we do it on some things, mainly fraternity houses and the research park. And then the fire department itself has to do pre-fire planning at campus buildings because of our contract. Will, is that accurate?
If this inspector did not have an automobile, how would they do their job?
They would have to share with somebody else who would also be an inspector that has another job to do. They don't usually go in tandem anywhere unless they're training or it's a massive building.
Anyone else have any questions or comments? Yes, Sonny?
I have one. Is this also part of the inspection process for new construction and remodel? Is that part of the application process?
At times, yes, but not always, John.
For commercial projects that have sprinkler systems, fire alarms, or emergency radio systems, kitchen hoods, they're involved in that.
Yeah.
John, I'm not sure if we already.
We're going to have to get him to stand up in a minute. So, John, you're going to have to come to the microphone because people can't hear you.
Yeah. Would you repeat
The
that answer, John?
next time, we're going to have you sit up in the front. No, this front one up here.
Here, come up.
There
No, we
go.
want you all the way to the front,
All the
John.
way. The department heads love it for you. Just
Would you
go.
repeat the answer, please, John?
They are involved in the construction of any buildings that have sprinkler system, fire alarm systems, kitchen hoods, anything that would be related to life safety of new buildings. It could be as simple as making sure that cooking equipment is hooked up correctly to turn off the gas if there was an issue. They do officially about 1,500 inspections a year, which take anywhere from 30 minutes to 6 hours each. Then there is every day, probably 2 or 3 that are unplanned things that come up. We had one this afternoon that came up around 3:30. Fire inspector went over there to make sure everything, worked with other city departments to make sure everything was okay.
Thank you, John.
So, well, let me ask you a question.
Sure.
So you got, how many inspectors, and how many vehicles for the
Well, his inspectors, he's got building inspectors, so we need to separate. We've got
Fire
entire
inspection.
fire
For this
inspectors. You have how
particular
many?
job.
We have one fire inspector currently.
And this would be the second
This would be the
fire
second.
inspector that is tied to him. There are fire department personnel that supplement because we don't have another full-time person.
We have 2 neighborhood inspectors who are in and out of the around and about the city all day long, and we have 6 building inspectors. that
So the
each-
fire inspection right now, the one that you already got, he already got his own, he already got a vehicle.
Yes, ma'am.
So if
He likes it.
if you hire another one, they'll have to share that one, right?
They would have to share one and
So
be
so
pretty
you're just trying to keep
inefficient.
them from having to share with the workload.
Yes, sir.
So what I wouldn't do is recommend this vehicle to you if, A, if they could share a vehicle, but B, we'd be inefficient. There's no point in adding a second person if they can't be out on the field all the time in their own vehicle because they need to be in 2 different locations.
I understand.
Good. Thank you. Thank you,
Another
John.
question.
Okay.
Are the rest of, I know it's one fire inspector, but how many vehicles do you have in total in inspection services?
2, 3, 6.
One per inspector,
One
but
per
not for your plan review, for your plan review people, John?
We
that-
have 9
Yep.
for 9 different inspectors that we have.
And all 9 of them are out all the time?
Most all the day. I mean, the fire inspector is in and out. Like fire inspector is probably out in the field 5 to 6 hours out of the day. The building inspectors are out 6 to 7 hours a day.
They do have paperwork that they have to do in the office.
They're in the office in
So,
the morning
yeah.
for about an hour to get paperwork done, and then sometimes depending on the weather, if you drive by on 3 days of rain, we're in the office more, but generally they're out in the field six and a half, 7 hours.
And
a
John,
day.
their average working hours start for your inspectors, what time in the morning?
7 to 4:30.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. Anyone else have a question or comment? All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
One nay. Motion carries. All right, 8C4.
Item 8C4 authorizes a contract with WW Compton Contractor LLC for the Boykin Gymnasium insulation project in the amount of $198,000.
Move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Who asked to have this, Ms. Taylor?
Megan, I know this has been a long time coming, so I just want you to explain to everybody exactly what we're doing here for the installation.
So when the Boykin Gymnasium was built, it had insulation in the roof. That insulation has deteriorated, and now we need to add insulation on sidewalls. It is the south and the west wall. South and east wall. So we installed an air conditioning system based on that. Consultant assumed that the building was fully insulated, and it was not. And so the air conditioning system has not been running efficiently. It's not pulling humidity out of the room at a level that allows it to function efficiently. So our only choice here is to add insulation so it will function as designed. Heat is obviously works better than the air conditioning because we don't have the same humidity issue. This will be funded out of block grant funds, $198,000. And it should correct the issue. Dan, remind me how many day contract this is when we're hoping to have this finished.
So it's a 60-day performance period in the contract, so hopeful that the project's completed before summer season.
Before it gets way too hot. Yeah.
Correct.
Have they already started?
No, they can't. We need to sign contracts if you
okay.
approve this tonight.
All right.
And we need a little insurance and a few other things, and we're good to go.
All right, any other
I'm done.
Any other questions, comments? Excited about having this done.
Yes.
All right. Have a motion second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion carries. All right, 8D1.
Item 8D1 accepts various public easements and public rights-of-way from Herring Development LLC for Rock House Farm subdivision.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion is second. Mr. Griswold?
Thank you. The final plat map that was provided in our package shows the entire roadway for Rock House, and I guess it's the
Bridlewood. Oh, the new Bridlewood and then the new cul-de-sac. Yes.
So it shows the entire roadway being color-coded as right-of-way with a little bit of drainage and utility easement along the edges. If we accept this easement and right-of-way, does that mean the city has the responsibility to improve the road and culverts and whatnot? This was previously a private road, and we've gone through a lot of iterations on this
Yes, sir.
already. But
Yeah, development agreements previously dealing with who was paying for what with the road have been nullified and canceled. So the developer is 100% responsible. Acceptance of the road this evening doesn't obligate the city to make any improvements. It obligates the developer to make the improvements. The plat will not be signed until either they make all improvements contemplated here or they bond those improvements. And so when you bond improvements, in essence, they're issuing a bond at 125% of the value of the improvements to the city. So should they not complete them and you've accepted right of way, the city can call the bond and step in and complete them. We do reduce the bond as they go through improvements over time, reduce the value. So
So-
we are fully covered.
the bottom line, the city is not going to pay to improve
No,
these
sir.
roads. Okay.
We're paying nothing, and the adjacent neighborhood is not paying for the side of the development, is paying for the
Thank you.
entirety of it.
And now with the changes to this development over time, the other road outside of Bridlewood is now a city, would become a city street.
It is a city street if it's highlighted as
Before it was
such.
going to be a private road.
Correct.
Okay.
There's a lot of changes. This is a private road, and the big deal is Bridlewood is a private road, the vast majority of it until you get to a certain point. So it's a big deal for the neighborhood behind it.
Thank
So
you.
even the private road portions of that
That goes
will be
away.
the
This is a
developer's
dedicated public
responsibility.
right-of-way. What?
will be the developer's responsibility.
They have to make all the improvements, or they have to bond them, which right now their plan is to bond them.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments, questions? All right, we have a motion second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion carries. Do I have a motion to approve the balance of the consent agenda?
So move.
Motion second. Any further questions, comments? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the consent agenda is approved. Ordinances.
Under ordinances this evening, item 9A1 establishes a no parking zone on Gatewood Place in the vicinity of the mailboxes at the request of the HOA. Unanimous consent is necessary.
I'll introduce the ordinance and ask for unanimous consent.
Second.
Have a motion second. Does anyone on the council have a problem moving forward with a vote on this evening? Seeing and hearing none, any comments or questions? Yes, Mr. Mormon?
I do, thank you. One of the things that was mentioned tonight was that there's not adequate parking at Auburn High School.
This is about Gatewood Place, Councilman
Oh,
Mormon.
heavens, I'm a little off, my bad.
That'd be a little far away from Auburn
However-
High School.
We'll get there in just a
We'll get
second.
there. All right.
All
we're
right.
good.
Okay.
All right. No, you're good. All right. Any comments or questions regarding Gatewood Place? All right. Seeing and hearing none. Lindsay with a roll call.
Taylor,
Yes.
Witten,
Yes.
Adams,
Yes.
Koblenz,
Yes.
Dawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Griswold,
Yes, ma'am.
Mormon,
Yes, ma'am.
Anders.
Yes.
All right. Item 9A2 establishes restricted parking zones on McKinley Avenue and Alice Street. Unanimous consent is necessary.
I'll introduce the ordinance and ask for unanimous consent.
Second.
Have a motion second. Does anyone on the council have a problem moving forward with the vote on this evening? Seeing and hearing none. Mr. Mormon,
Thank you.
I'll let you go first.
Appreciate that. One of the things that was mentioned tonight is that there wasn't adequate parking at Auburn High School. That's a surprise to me, and I guess that creates little pockets around the city, but I just don't know if we can find out if that's true or not, if we're getting the overflow from the Auburn High School crowd, or if there's some other reason that students are parking off campus. It would just be nice to know. I don't think that's going to drive our agenda tonight or any other night, but I'd like to thank the city staff for working through this rather difficult concern that citizens had, and also the citizens who are in that area of Alice and McKinley. I thank them for their input, and I thank everybody for their hard work on this, and I think it is a good and reasonable solution, and I intend to support it. And again, I thank those who were involved in working it out.
Appreciate your hard work, Sonny. You did a great job
May-
communicating with your citizens and your neighbors down there, so thank you for that. Yes, ma'am, Ms. Whitten.
Not speaking on behalf of the school system, but just my personal involvement with two children who either have gone through or are currently at Auburn City Schools. The high school does have adequate parking. The 10th graders do not have the ability to get parking. That's a longstanding policy of the school system. And then additionally, there are drivers who don't sign a pact or an agreement through the school system for whatever reason, and they are not allowed to receive a parking permit. So there's a couple reasons why individuals may park or may not be able to park on campus directly. And so, but there is adequate parking for who is available to park.
Would it be helpful to know the nature of this pact?
Oh, it's just, I mean, it's
a conduct
it's a
based.
conduct agreement that each student is asked to sign. They're not required to sign.
So in essence, a family is making a choice about that and that is a policy of the school system. It doesn't involve the city, but that to park on campus, that's a family choice as to whether or not they're going to agree to that for their children.
And there are a lot of sophomores who turn 16 during the sophomore year who just don't have the opportunity to get a parking permit.
Do we have the space at the high school if we could allow the 16-year-olds to get the, Ms. Whitten?
Well, I mean, I believe there's ample space, but that's a school policy, and it's been a longstanding policy that sophomores of that class as a 10th grader are not permitted parking spaces.
Yeah, I'm not saying we haven't, but I was just wondering if we could have talked with somebody with the school system and see if we come up with a solution. We had the same problem back when high school was old high school.
We did in Terrace Acres neighborhood.
Yeah,
You're exactly
I
right.
thought we wouldn't have to revisit once we got the new high school, so.
Chief, they added an additional parking lot after that new school was built originally, that's really closest to Sanford Avenue. I don't know how many spaces were there. I'm in and around that campus a decent amount, and I've just had 2 children in the last few years that have graduated from there. I don't know if there's any other place to put parking, to be honest with you.
There's also been the churches around it, not speaking on their behalf, had been gracious at times to allow folks to park there until they had issues that
Yeah.
a citizen just aptly described. And so, and my impression is the surrounding businesses and our churches that were flexible, some have lost flexibility. There are some further away. We've also tried to discourage and not allow people to park at Duck Sanford. Students were running across the middle of Glen Avenue, a 45-mile-an-hour road. Not a good plan. And so there have been a number of challenges. There's also a policy that per family, you get one unless that is changed. And so if you have a senior and a sophomore, you're not getting 2 parking passes, you're getting 1. So some of this then comes to, they'll say that they have different schedules, and somebody will have a sophomore, a junior, and a senior, and if they can afford 3 cars, they can only park 1 on campus. So it's a variety of reasons. This response from staff was a negotiation with the neighborhood, and we tried to, the places that you see in red on here are where people had said that they did not want anyone parking in front of their house, and we only did 7:30 to 9:30 a.m. again as a compromise, correct, Brandy? And just to try to discourage it in the morning. We also find a lot of Auburn high school students have other schedules in the afternoon, and you'll see more empty parking spaces on campus in the afternoon as seniors and other folks clear out and don't have a full schedule. So it's a fluid dynamic. We had also been having trouble with school buses. Councilman Moorman and the mayor have dealt with this a good bit. And there are buses for other schools that pick up on McKinley and Alice Street, taking children, school-age children to other schools. They have to be able to get through there, but we have worked with the schools handily to keep buses from cutting through there to enter the high school there, to enter from East University Drive. Correct? Okay.
Megan, I would presume that if we see a car parked in front of a fire hydrant, we would not find that to be positive.
No, but I
correct?
can tell you, if you ever watch the movie Backdraft, if the car is in the way and we need access to the fire hydrant, we're going to
We'll
get
get there.
access. So, and we will protect you. We can also move the car with one of our fire trucks, pretty good at doing that if we have to. Not our desired outcome, but if there's a fire and it's a life safety issue, we're going to address it.
Good.
Megan, how would this be, if we move forward, how would this be enforced? Would it be ticketing, towing?
Ticketing, that's a good time, yes.
Yeah.
Ticketing, and police have been monitoring. Will, we've had a lot of police try to monitor our parking challenges in the vicinity of this high school on a pretty regular basis.
That's correct. Since the complaints have been coming in, we're mostly for these type issues, it is complaint driven.
So, but we may be out there early when the signs go up if you approve this to help that along.
So my question is, I think he asked the question I want to ask. The restricted parking zone, so what would the restriction be?
7:30 a.m. to 9:30 a.m., no parking.
Oh, okay, so that's the restriction.
Yeah, that was a negotiation with the neighborhood we've worked with them. So if you see red in your packets, they know they've agreed to restricted parking. If you don't see red in front of their houses, they didn't want it.
Oh, okay.
So we've tried everything, but again, you have a citizen who said, hey, I'm good for now, but doesn't mean we can't come back if there's an issue for somebody else and they want it changed. Either way, that's up to y'all. If you're willing to change it, we're always willing to bring it forward on behalf of our citizens.
And I would assume, based off of the time frame, that's when a majority of the students have been parking is during that time frame. May I
Brandy?
ask that?
Yeah.
That's when they come, and of course, most of the ones who are parking there, they're there all day until they get out of school at 3:30.
There is an opportunity for, like, they have late arrival for a lot of students who don't have classes in the morning, that may be after 9:30, so I just.
Brandy, you want to speak to why that time frame was selected?
Yeah, so just to clarify, this is the same time frame that we did use at Terrace Acres and Flowers and those other areas. Most students that park, as she mentioned, do park all day. So by eliminating their ability to park there a portion of the time, it eliminates them parking there all day. You might have a case where you have a late arrival that might get away with it, but those are going to be slim. We have found this time frame to be very effective in the past.
Thank you.
And if it's not effective and you want to revisit it or the neighbors do, we certainly will.
And it does allow for still having your own guests, your lawn services, and things like that outside of that time frame.
That was my question. How do we monitor guests first?
We can't.
And it's just
No, there is. So
neighbors just gotta be careful.
particularly wards 5 and 6 have dealt with on-street parking issues for a very long time, and there was a movement several councils ago to deal with resident parking. We don't have a state law that allows us to differentiate public parking for residents like stickers. You've seen them in other states. Can't do that in Alabama. So the only way we could address this, because we can't deal with resident parking and guest parking on a public right-of-way, is we have to put a time restriction or not. So this is our best hybrid to try to help the residents address their concerns, but keep it a little flexible outside of these hours for repair trucks and so on. Otherwise, they need to be in your driveway. Yeah.
All right, anyone else? All right, Lindsay, roll call?
Witten,
Yes.
Adams,
Yes.
Koblenz,
Yes, ma'am.
Dawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Griswold,
Yes, ma'am.
Mormon.
Yes, ma'am.
Taylor,
Yes.
Anders.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Item 9B, consents to an Auburn Waterworks Board lease with Brassfield and Gorey for a temporary construction material laydown and parking area. Unanimous consent is necessary.
I'll introduce ordinance and ask unanimous consent.
Second.
Have motions.
Happy April. Happy April. Boy, what an exciting time here in Auburn University and in the community and all. The Final Four, I believe it's going to be in San Antonio. Am I correct? One of the 4 unique cities. I've had the opportunity to speak in San Antonio a few times, and it's really a neat place to visit. Whoever goes there, I want to make sure you go to the El Mercado. It's called the market, which is just off the River Walk down there, but it's really a neat city to spend some time in. I hope the team and all the fans and so forth can travel there safely and have a good time at that. I didn't know John Langford was going to be retiring. I'd have reached out to him, said something to him. I was thinking back the Auburn fire chiefs that I've gotten to know over the years, Ronnie Blankenship, Larry Langley, I believe, Lee Lamar, of course, and then John. So what a Hall of Fame group of fire chiefs that you had here with the city of Auburn. And likewise, there's the corollary of the Hall of Fame police chiefs too, all these years. I just really wanted to I did want to ask, what is the project? What is the construction project? I've been watching it at the south end of Doug Sanford Stadium. What is that? My hunch is that I could look it up somehow, imagine, but a hunch is it's some sort of concession and/or restroom expansion facility for both sides of the stadium.
It's a school project, correct?
It's the Auburn City Schools project.
Yeah.
It's stadium enhancements that they're making and entrance gate changes.
But is it for just make the stadium more?
I understand there's some infrastructure, some water.
But yeah, I mean,
And I believe there's a new visitor's entrance being built as well.
Well, it was first opened up in the middle of 1968. That was the first football games for Auburn High School were played there in 1968. So there's something going on there that's caught the eye of the school district. That's really neat. But anyway, I just wanted to tell you one more time, really appreciate what you do and how you do it, and let's have a great spring. It's a beautiful time of year down here. I've called it Fantasia, but when the daffodils and jonquils start to come out in January and February, now the azaleas are coming in, and the dogwoods are coming right after that too. So it's really neat. But I really want to thank each and every one of you. Megan, you're doing a great job with management. Allison, you're doing a great job with Auburn Parks and Rec, and Ron, you're doing a great job as mayor.
Thank you, Steve.
Yeah, I appreciate you all a lot.
Yep.
Tell your sweet mother I said hello. Every time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
I'm Martha Shamp, 307 Camellia Drive. Greetings and happy Easter to all of you. That's April 20th, the resurrection of the Lord. There's some good news. The Auburn Public Library now has a fresh start. Thank God the former library director is gone. Under his watch, hundreds of sexually inappropriate books promoting homosexual perversions, anti-traditional family themes, and all forms of godless immorality were placed on shelves even in the children's wing. But now, may the new library director steer the ship off the rocks of destruction. Meanwhile, a horrible table was set up at the Auburn High School promoting transgender ideology. This was very recently. This so-called club passed out the rainbow-type ribbons with trans colors and promoted reprehensible practices. Please, if you are a parent of a student at Auburn High, I urge you to call the principal and denounce this beastly activity. You can also call the superintendent of Auburn City Schools and complain. Stand up for the teachings of Jesus Christ. Stand up for your Christian values. Be a light, as Christ is the light of the world. His word never fails. Protect the youth of this generation. Make a call. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jeff Walker, and I live at 2078 Autumn Ridge Way. And this evening, I'm proudly displaying the ribbons that were handed out at the high school. I'm the proud father of a senior at Auburn High School who is a member of the club in question. And I want to talk about the courage these students have had over the past 3 years that my daughter has been at Auburn High School. They have worked with the administration and the teachers, the superintendent, and the school board to earn their right, like every other club at Auburn High School, and have the opportunity to get together and just enjoy each other, right? These kids are young, and you have to, excuse me, my blood pressure is a little high right this second, but these kids are young, and I have seen courage amongst these youth that I've not seen. I don't remember being this way when I was a teenager. The articles that were written about what happened at this high school and the assumptions that were made in the articles make it seem like no other club ever gets promoted at Auburn High School on that website. And I'll tell you, that's constant, right? Every club has the opportunity to promote themselves, and the teachers and staff at the high school want to make everyone aware so that there is an inclusive, not exclusive type environment there for everyone. I've seen firsthand the things that my own child has been called, either at this podium or in the media, not just in the state, but nationwide. And I'm going to tell you, as a father, it has been very difficult in the past 3 years. My daughter's going to graduate this year. She's going to graduate with honors. She's been an A student, and she has worked her butt off to be an example citizen and student at Auburn High School in the face of bigotry and hatred. And I'm going to tell you, I have been appreciative of several of you on this council who have supported her in her flight and have supported these students. I've been appreciative. We live 7 miles from one of what I consider the best colleges in this nation. And my daughter's not welcome here, so she's made a decision now to go to another college in another state. Another college in another state. She has been an incredible member of this community, looking out for others and doing everything you want a young person to do. And to listen to people stand up here, because what they're saying is that it's my daughter. That's the problem. And those like her. And as a father, no one should have to listen to that. Thank you.
Gabriel Dunham, 210 East Thatch Avenue. I'm here today to explain to you the importance of the event students were involved in yesterday at Auburn High. The International Trans Day of Visibility is an annual event, annual day recognized, celebrated all around the world on March 31st, which is dedicated to celebrating the accomplishments and victories of transgender and gender expansive people, while simultaneously raising awareness of the work that is still needed to combat discrimination and violence. Trans youth already face higher rates of bullying, depression, and suicide, and the lack of acknowledgement or outright erasure significantly increases those risks. Trans Day of Visibility is a much-needed day of empowerment, celebrating the lives and achievements of transgender and gender-expansive loved ones. We need to always hold space for our trans community members and recognize their many accomplishments. Trans Day of Visibility is only one day out of 365 that gives allies the chance to uplift and support our trans loved ones. Yesterday, PFLAG Auburn celebrated with other organizations and community members for Trans Day of Visibility at Toomer's Corner. We had a great turnout and experienced many positive responses and support from our Auburn community. Representation matters. Trans people will always exist, and they will always be a part of our Auburn community. Thank you.
Hey, my name is Sarah Collins, 875 Cahaba Drive. I find it astonishing that someone would get up here and reference the resurrection of Jesus, and in the next breath make statements that go directly against his teachings of kindness, reaching out to the excluded, and caring for people in our community. I want to thank the folks at the library for making sure that we serve every member of the community, not just a religious few. So thank you for the folks at the library who are doing that. No member of our community should feel like they don't belong. Our public services should be for the public, not for some people, for all people in our community, regardless of their faith, of where they come from, or where they want to go. So I just want to express my support for the students at Auburn High School who put on this event, and for our library who continues to provide excellent service and making sure that everybody sees themselves represented in the books that are included in that collection. Thank you.
Bill, 802 Tullahoma Drive, and sorry to have to be up here again, take up your time. And in case Ms. Taylor would like to talk to me afterwards about post-knee replacement, I'll be glad to tell you. But I want you to think, if your child was trans and had told you that they identified as a different gender, and your child was at Auburn Public Schools and was having these things said about them, that would not sit well with you. I was at the Toomer's Corner last night. I'm an ally. I'm a parent. My family member is an adult, but is trans. And they did not come out until their 30s because of statements like this. And they were worried that they would not be accepted. And that is a miserable life to live. So please, as you consider what your own personal beliefs are, those are your beliefs. But don't stop other people from living their own lives and living their best life. Thank you.
I'm Robert Wilkins, 261 Denson Drive. Councilwoman Taylor, I really enjoyed the Ward 1 meeting. It was awesome. AJ, I saw earlier today at the recreational meeting. Also, Mayor Andrews, you did an excellent job. I'm sorry that the turnout wasn't as large as you asked for one time, but it was really funny at that meeting when the most important committee was the cemetery committee. They were funny. It was a joyous time. I can't believe I laughed as much as I did. Also, the lady that continuously shouts and screams at Toomer's Corner, is there anything, I mean, she's been there for weeks, months, maybe over a year. Is there anything that the council or the police department can do with that lady? She's just, it's devastating. You know, it's so bad for the city. I realize we all have rights to speak, but it seems to be screaming and hollering and not even understanding and seeing her sign that has all kind of words on it. I don't even know what she's talking about, but I hear it every day because I pick up food for Uber, so I didn't know if y'all had any choice or not. I wanted to speak on part two, our underpaid council. What does a $600 part-time Auburn City Council member do each month? First, you attend 2 meetings a month from 1 to 3 hours with 150 to 400 pages to review for the meeting. 2 meetings on Thursday before the Tuesday council meeting to go over the agenda. You have to research or prepare for those meetings. You receive cell phone calls, text messages, emails, personal meetings from your constituents, not just in your ward, but other wards, concerning the issues of the month. Also deal on social platforms like Facebook and Nextdoor. You even attend special opening functions and happenings in each month. I believe that the growth of this city and the expanded needs because of that growth, that our council members should be full-time and compensated accordingly. When 59 bureaucrats can get between $100,000 to $250,000 per year. That's why I think we should have 8 full-time members, whether it's 36, 48, 60, or 72 per year income. This would allow competition for council members by enabled, talented, and creative citizens to afford being on the council. I do not believe that money is the single answer, but we as Auburn citizens should search out the leadership in our community and show them the vision of their potential leadership as a council member or even mayor. A close friend of mine said that the city manager makes $250,000 while the vice president of the United States makes $235,000. Think about it. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Miranda Batchelor. I reside at 80 Pecan Circle. The outrage expressed tonight discourages me. Student organizations like Educate are meant to encourage community, dialogue, and kindness between students at Auburn High School. As part of this effort, the club celebrated Trans Visibility Day, a national holiday, by allowing students the option to voluntarily come to their club's table during lunch and, again, voluntarily pick up and wear an unobtrusive ribbon like I have on today. The right for students to wear insignia like this is made very clear in the 1969 landmark Supreme Court case, Tinker v. Des Moines Independent Community School District. In this case, the Supreme Court ruled 7-2 in favor of the students' First Amendment rights in public schools for students to wear black armbands in silent protest of the Vietnam War. An online article written about the Educate ribbons said that students' parents and grandparents were angered that the school was encouraging something so inherently political. Now, whether you consider this action political, like the protest of the Vietnam War, or whether, like me, you consider it to be a show of love and community, it is at its core a First Amendment right for these students. And the freedom of speech is a pillar of our government without which it would fall. It is not something we can, nor should we, infringe upon. I ask this council and this city to show love and compassion. As Mark 12:31 says, and the second is this, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. There is no other commandment greater than these. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Cordelia Capitafaro, and I live at 139 Solomere Lane. In reference to the article about trans youth that was published by the 1819 specifically, this particular news site has been known to post unverified information and generally lack integrity. While it did mention people complained, I think we've all seen a person who only leaves negative Google reviews before. Just because some people complain doesn't mean that that is representative of the views of all students or parents. Further, the Educate Club is aimed at reducing stigma, which is exactly what we're facing with this article, and I believe all students have the right to feel safe in their identity. If the posting had mentioned something such as picking up a religious sticker at the table, we would not have had these comments tonight. As I've heard mentioned by a parent of a student at Auburn High School, previous inflammatory statements from the 1819 are directly connected to the mayor of Smith Station, a husband and father, deciding to take his own life. I do not believe this is the kind of news source we should be allowing to influence public opinion based on its track record. Thank you.
Rarely do I get emotional on this dais, but I am a parent and I am an ally, and I'm appalled by what has been stated by an outlet that is considering themselves to be journalistic. Misinformation creates fear and incites hate. And I just would like to state that I'm proud of the people who spoke tonight. This is just ridiculous, and that we should not have these kind of conversations in a community like Auburn. And I apologize for my emotions, but I don't apologize for stating that I support all those who want to be who they want to be. And we as a community should support anyone for who they want to be, who they decide to be, and be kind and not spread hate. That's all.
Anyone else?
I think that the Boy Scouts should get their merit badge for this. They really hung in there with us, and it was good to see you all tonight.